Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right into the ultimate beginner's guide to the dance floor. We're looking at Latin versus standard ballroom, so let's get into it.
Whether you're looking for a new hobby or just a fun way to stay active, stepping into a dance studio for the first time is absolutely thrilling. Well, right up until you see that massive menu of classes, right? The classic dilemma every beginner faces is, which style should I actually learn first? And honestly, the answer is wonderfully subjective. It all depends on the music you enjoy, the specific physical skills you want to build, and how you naturally like to move your body on the floor.
But hey, before we split them up and pit them against each other, you gotta know one crucial thing. Both of these styles are taught in studios literally worldwide, and both are a fantastic, proven fast track to building confidence in partner dancing. Seriously, you really can't make a wrong choice here. They are both wildly popular, and both are going to dramatically transform how you move to music. All right, let's explore Latin ballroom, the grounded groove. So if you see a beginner's class advertised under the Latin umbrella, you're usually looking at 5 core dances: the samba, cha-cha, rumba, paso doble, and the jive. When you step into these classes, expect some much quicker musical textures. The movements look super lively and animated, even when the tempo drops for a slower dance like the rumba. In those early lessons, you'll be actively learning how to coordinate your footwork with distinct hip actions and some really expressive torso shapes.
Because at its core, Latin is fundamentally percussion forward. You don't just listen to the beat, you are taught to feel that rhythm right down through your feet and into your hips. And what's actually incredibly appealing for a lot of beginners is the more relaxed posture. It just feels super approachable, especially if you're feeling a little intimidated and, aren't quite ready to commit to maintaining a strict formal ballroom frame.
It really all boils down to bounce and expression. Latin is all about that lively, infectious energy. It gives you the freedom to showcase your individual personality right out of the gate, with highly expressive upper body styling, all while interpreting those driving rhythmic beats.
Okay, let's reset our posture, take a breath, and shift over to understanding standard ballroom, the elegant glide.
Now, if you sign up for a standard class, you're going to be learning the absolute classics: the waltz, tango, Viennese waltz, foxtrot, and the quickstep. Unlike the grounded, spot-based dancing we just talked about in Latin, standard is built entirely around traveling patterns. You and your partner are going to be constantly moving, navigating your way counterclockwise around the perimeter of the entire room. It's like a giant, elegant racetrack.
This style definitely demands a physical shift in focus. Standard requires a consistent, strict couple frame, so it asks a lot more of you in terms of controlled posture and creating these beautifully long, stretched lines with your bodies. You'll also spend a good chunk of time mastering smooth rise and fall mechanics. Literally that sweeping feeling of rising up onto your toes and then softening right back down through your heels as you move.
Which brings us to the very essence of standard. If Latin is bounce and expression, standard is absolutely all about flow and precision. As a beginner, your laser focus is going to be on maintaining that stable frame we just mentioned, nailing the basic timing, and practicing incredibly smooth weight changes so that you and your partner are basically gliding effortlessly as a single unit.
All right, let's put them in a direct side-by-side battle for our head-to-head matchup, Latin versus standard.
First up, let's look at rhythm. Latin is extremely hip and foot rhythmic. You're hitting those sharp, percussive beats. Standard, on the other hand, relies on a sweeping, glide and timing rhythm. You're actually stepping through the music to create this continuous, rolling momentum. Next up is posture. With Latin, you get a little more breathing room, right? A more relaxed, expressive upper body. But standard demands a formal, highly structured frame where your arms and shoulders literally lock into position to act as a shared steering wheel across the floor. And when we talk about movement style, well, Latin roots you deeply into the floor to create sharp, highly visible shapes. Standard goes the opposite route. It favors that sweeping travel and those rising and falling mechanics to maintain long, smooth lines across the whole room. Finally, the musical feel. Latin often feels bold, fiery, and percussive. Standard is flowing, elegant, and highly dramatic. And hey, it's incredibly important to note here, neither of these styles is objectively easier. No way. They just require totally different practice sets. It really comes down to whether you personally prefer interpreting punchy, percussive beats or flowing drama.
So, where should you start? Let's take a look at your personal matrix.
A really solid rule of thumb is to start with the style that matches what you will actually practice willingly. Seriously,
If you prefer upbeat music, strong body styling, and maybe a slightly less rigid posture right off the bat, go with Latin. But if you're drawn to learning elegant framing and big sweeping travel patterns early on, Standard is totally your match. It entirely depends on what's going to keep you coming back to the studio every single week.
And here's a fun surprise fact for you. The style label actually matters way less than the quality of your instructor. It's true. If you have access to a truly phenomenal teacher who specializes in one style over the other, just start there. And when in doubt, schedule a Try It week. Most studios offer intro classes specifically so you can literally test drive both styles and see how they feel on your own body before making any commitments.
Also, here's the best piece of news to take all the pressure off. You really don't need to stress over this decision. So many dancers eventually learn both styles anyway. Starting with one simply gives you focus time to build your core partner skills. Things like timing, connection, and spatial awareness. And those skills, they will easily translate if you decide to add the contrasting style later on.
Regardless of whether you pick Latin or Standard today, our source boils the whole beginner experience down to just 3 vital steps. Step 1, stay on beat. Step 2, communicate comfortably with your partner. And Step 3, enjoy the learning process. Honestly, those are the only 3 goals you need to worry about when you first walk through those studio doors.
Just keep your expectations realistic. Let go of the need to look like a professional ballroom dancer immediately. It's just not going to happen overnight. Progress in this sport comes entirely from consistent practice, not perfection. If you just focus on enjoying the music and building a comfortable connection with your partner, I promise you, the pristine technique will naturally follow in time.
So, we've covered the grounded rhythm of Latin and the elegant glide of Standard. We've explored the posture, the travel, and the musicality. Based on your own personality and everything you've learned in this explainer, I leave you with this question. Are you ready to embrace the bounce or step into the flow? Which side of the ballroom will you conquer first, and how is it going to change the way you move through the world?